Welcome back. Well, through the pandemic, many companies did not have a digital plan, and they were suffering for that. Those that did, though, found that to be beneficial. And the recommendation by many business experts is that each company needs to have some kind of digital framework in their business plan for the future. So with me, Adam Lyons, the CEO of the S.M.A.R.T Blueprint, who is a business strategist, a serial entrepreneur, to talk a little bit more about why this is so important in the new age we're going into in business, and why companies need to look at that. So great to have you, Adam.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
So let's just start with, tell me about the S.M.A.R.T Blueprint. What does your company do, and how are you helping other businesses?
So for the last few years, I've focused on doing a lot of business strategy. My background, I used to work as a crisis strategist for companies like PepsiCo UK specifically, Yum Brands, Nike, and a few others. And I've spent larger companies grow, scale, react to crises, strategize, just in general to increase the size of their business. We realized off the back of the pandemic that a lot of companies just didn't have a blueprint for the right way to go online. Like, how do I take my business digital? And we're not just talking small companies. You can already see the impact of brands like Neiman Marcus, JCPenney, who just didn't have a digital strategy at all. And they just got wiped out in a single blow.
Well, we have seen the transition to digital accelerate by, 10 years or something because of this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so many, my kids are doing Zoom lessons on their mobile devices. And I know the banks may even shut down bank branches because so many people got used to mobile banking and banking online, which is something the banks have been trying to get them to do for a long time. So what kind of industries do you think have adapted well, and others that may need to strategize or do some things differently?
I actually think many industries have not adapted well to this at all. The ones that have the advantage are like your e-commerce brands. What's fascinating is a lot of the businesses that are doing really successful now are the ones that were considered quite small businesses, the sub 50 million kind of businesses, literally 3 to 6 months ago. And now they're the ones that are gaining all the traffic because they know how to monetize it correctly. I believe a lot of people in the future will say that the year 2000 was when the world sort of like embraced the digital age, but it wasn't until 2020 when it became a standard way of life. And what we're looking at now is this is the new normal. There will not be a return. We're seeing companies like Facebook, we're seeing large insurance companies, banks, who are all saying to their workers, we're not going to reopen our offices. We're going to allow you to work remotely, at least as a trial for now. That trial is obviously going to show that it's better in terms of profit margins. There's lower costs involved. Staff are going to be happier. And all of this will result in offices no longer being needed. There's going to be huge changes. I like telling people, there's a lot of people worried about an economic downturn. Are we on the verge of a depression or what have you? Actually, money never vanishes. It just goes somewhere else. All the trends are saying that everything's going to move towards the digital age. And those that do not adapt and embrace this will be left behind as like the dinosaurs.
Yeah. What do you say to companies that may not have such an easily visual way of going digital? So I'm thinking, I have a neighbor who's a photographer. How would somebody like that transition to digital?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I think there are a lot of companies that just can't visualize what their business would look like in a digital place. Yet when you look at companies like Shutterstock, there are a lot of companies that primarily rely on photography who are doing incredible, but it often does involve a business pivot. So for a professional photographer who is used to having a studio, that might mean more home visits. It might mean shoots that happen outside. It may mean taking stock photography as part of the business.
Okay, so Adam, any final thoughts about advice for consumers or businesses as we come out of the pandemic and we start to adapt to what the new normal is?
Yeah, I think so. One of the reasons we created the S.M.A.R.T Blueprint was the concept of SMART, which is there are really only 5 things you need to remember if you want to be able to make money online. The first is staff. You need staff that know what they're doing. You really don't want to look at like outsourcing your web design to some friend of yours that, offers you a good deal. Do the due diligence. Get a good website creation agency. If you're going to let somebody else run your Facebook ads, make sure they're reputable. So first is get your staff underway who are experts at doing this. Next, you need a marketing strategy. And it really needs to be a 3-part strategy. You've got to identify new customers. You've got to maintain interaction with your current customers, and then your hottest customers, you want to make sure that you're serving them with, flash discounts, flash buys. I got hit by an advert that hit me at 2 a.m. that was only available for 30 minutes.
Oh.
And I ended up spending so much money because they were like, hey, we noticed that, you're awake in the middle of the night. We thought you might like this special offer that you can't buy anywhere else. And that was it. I handed them all my money that night. So things like that, you need these 3 different types of advertising. You need an audience strategy. How are you actually going to accumulate an audience? And be aware that 80% of that audience probably aren't going to spend money, but you want to serve them because they're the ones that will write about you, will talk about you, and communicate with you. And it's something that retailers never had to worry about before. These are the window shoppers. They're important because it makes it look like your store isn't empty, even if they're not buying. And on the internet, that is your social media audience. So you need to make sure you're serving that. Next, you need revenue strategies. This is R in the S.M.A.R.T Blueprint, which is about having additional offers to sell. Amazon's amazing at this. You buy something and Amazon say, other people that bought this also bought these other things. Yeah. And every business needs that. And lastly, you need testimonials. You need evidence that your business is real. In a physical business, you can walk in and see the quality, touch the fabric. On the internet, an image, we don't know if it's what it says it is. So we need social proof from others who have purchased, who have bought, as real as possible. Videos are better than writing, where people are talking about your product, your services, and confirming they're good. You have these 5 things that makes up the S.M.A.R.T, and then you're well on your way to be able to make money on the internet.
Okay. Well, fascinating. Thank you so much, Adam, for coming and sharing your expertise. And it's going to be an interesting few years ahead of us here. So
absolutely. Yeah, I agree. And thank you so much for having me. I think we really are looking at the new normal.
Okay. Thank you. And thank you as well for joining us. We'll be right back.